Start free stream. So you've got
You're
your
recording?
first. Yes, I'm recording.
Now.
And that's the first slide you got on there.
I
when you want to take the slide off and change to yourself.
I am Basmank Mehta at InclusiveFM.co.uk, and you will now also see what we're going to do today is a number of things. Like always, like the formula is, I'll tell you the events to start with coming on this week, and then we will start on the continuation from last week, and in between we'll make a break and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. There is a very nice story coming up for all those people who are courting at the moment, or who feel that love is lost somewhere along the line. Okay, so that is primarily and I will tell you more about Harry. Remember Harry from the original number 1 episode? Right, I'm going to tell you a little bit about that, and there you go. So today I am Basmank Mehta, and first and foremost, as I was saying to you, I will show you the next slide, which is the one that I originally showed you with the blank chart. So that is coming up very, very shortly, that blank chart, that's it. Now when you see that, what you will see is that the top square, the diamond, is the home square. That's the home house. That is number 1, house number 1. And it goes anti-clockwise right the way through to 12 houses. Now you will also note within that there are 4 squares or 4 diamonds, and the rest of them are the triangles. So the 4 that are there are that of family. Primarily in the home is you yourself, and then house number 4 is your mother or the mother of your children. In the house number 7, which we're going to start talking about today, is your spouse, your partner. And house number 10 is where your father and your job prospects are. These 4 work out the primary requirements of a human life, of one's way of life. Invariably, mostly or always, is oneself, one's parents, mother and father on opposite sides, and the spouse on the opposite side to you, being 7. These are the 4, and now we will now carry on with the rest of it. Now if we go to that number 7 I explained to you, and this is coming up on the next slide, and that is known as house 7. Now if you look at the house 7, that is slide number 10, and if you see the 2 elements, I'm not sure if you can remember from last time, there are 2 parts to it, 2 columns to it, and first on the opposite side, on the right hand side, is at a glance. That tells you what this house is all about. And underneath where it says the house, it says in short, and followed by the finances, sources of income. I have picked on sources of income because more and more people are interested in their finances after their family life. And so therefore I've picked on those, explaining to you where your incomes are likely to be coming from, who, if anybody, is going to help you, and all that. So at a glance, we're talking about your husband or wife, your marriage, and your affections to them. Enjoyment or suffering from sacrifices. Now, you know and I know that marriage in the short run is all fantastic. Once you get married, for a few moments, few months, few weeks, few years, it's all enjoyment. It's all very nice. Sometimes that starts to wither away, that starts to fall apart. And this is what it tells me. Now, when I tell you it tells me, and in the last episode also, on many occasions, I said to you, I said to you, this tells me, that tells me, everything tells, so what? If it tells me, what difference does it make? Well, the difference it makes is that it also informs me of what and how to inform you so that the difficulties that you may be encountering could be overcome. Also, by overcoming those difficulties, how you can better your life. Primarily, like I said, this is the doctor of your mind. And that is what house number 7 explains about the spouse. What kind of a spouse will you have? Are you going to have a good spouse, a bad spouse? You know, that is, marriages are made in heaven, so they say. But we have to live here. You know, work it out here. And we can't work it out here if we don't know how to. If you don't know how to ride a bicycle, somebody has to teach you. If you don't know how to, you can look it up. This is the bit how to comes in. And that is the house number 7. Alongside, on the opposite side, the sources of income could be from your spouses, your beloved or your dearest. Now, the beloved and the dearest here include spouses or include partners that are otherwise not your spouses. So sometimes, as we all know, some people stray, and when they stray, income can come from that avenue as well. Now, there is also other sources of income that can come in, i.e. from the adopted children and maternal or paternal grandparents, especially grandmother from the maternal side and grandfather from the paternal side. So these are the sources where family income can be generated. In terms of the business, in terms of the reasons for income, that could be for business, for gifting to your prayer partners, the presents. Maybe you are inclined to thieving. Maybe you're inclined in stealing. You're inclined in getting something for nothing. Or is it the frozen assets? Some ancestor somewhere along the line left you some money that one day one of those programs knocks on your doors and says, we have just got asset for you that your great uncle, great whoever left for you. Or even money coming from the lottery. That is explained in this house. And now we go on to next slide, and I will show you the next slide. And in that next slide, we will see that it is directly, if you remember the original chart, it is directly opposite to the money chart, the house number 2, the triangle. And the bit that tells me about how good or bad your finances are. This here is not only the shadow and the reflection of it, but this here is a bit more than that. A bit more than that. It tells me about your life, how long you're going to live. Believe it or not, there is also a bit that says how and roughly when you are likely to die. Not that anybody wants to know that. Right? Prolonged illnesses. What kind of illnesses are you going to suffer? Is it going to be a short illness before you die? Is it going to be a prolonged illness before a long suffering illness? Or are you just going to plod along? Your interests, your worries, your foreign travels. People from abroad, I want to get to London. And I go on holiday. Oh, can you sponsor me to London? Oh no, I'm not into sponsorships. But questions like that are answered here, right? There is archaeological matters, i.e. your previous lives. I told you a story about this last time, if you remember, about the son and the king. And the previous lives here tells me and tells you the reasons why you are where you are today. What you're likely to be in your next life. Right? The cleverness. How shrewd are you? You very shrewd or gullible? What kind of a person are you? That is also informed in here. And debts. What kind of a debt do you have? Debts of obligation. That is the debt that says, I owe you. I owe you my life. I owe you for all that you have done for me. I owe you for. I thank you very much for looking after me whilst I was. All those are debts. And whether you will repay them or not is what comes into here. In terms of the finances, your brother's enemies. Through to quarrels with your brothers. That could be a source of income. Other sorts of incomes could be from insurance claims or inheritance, assets, accidental gains. You suddenly come across some money. You suddenly win a prize. You suddenly get a bonus that you did not anticipate. Or there is a death levy on somebody that comes to you. All that is in the finances and the income. All that in house number 8. And the house number 9, the next slide, ladies and gentlemen, I show you, showing to us a number of things here. It is absolutely wonderful. So the house number 9 is political. It's your destiny. It's the judgment, the density, divine powers, benevolent supremacy, pilgrimage. Are you going to go on a pilgrimage? Are you going to be over and above? Are you going to win the court case? Are you likely to have those divine powers over somebody else? Somebody thinks you are just God's given gift. As opposed to somebody else, you are just a real pain. The same individual, but seen from different eyes. So for whom are you, what sort of person is explained here. Now in terms of the sources of finance, that could be either from your father or from a virtuous gentlemanly act that you may have undergone. You may get money in order to provide for a charity. Last week was a Red Nose Day, and they built over £1 billion of total fund. Lots of people pledged their little bit of income to say, I will donate so much. That donation, you have to have it in the first place. And that is the income we're talking about. That is the money that could be coming your way in order that you, in turn, can offer the charity, the parental properties. Are you going to receive your parental property, or are you one of those guys where your parents just don't want to give you anything? Or they gave you a lot, but you have nothing to show for it. There's money circulation that comes into it as well. I give you, somewhere, somehow, somebody else gives me that kind of income. Bills to pay, and I'm thinking, where am I going to get that money from? And suddenly somebody phones up and says, hey, Mr. Mehta, could you do me a favor? Could you look up my chart? Can you tell me what is happening? And here is a small donation for you for doing that favor. Now that money I did not expect. I did not know that somebody there was going to phone me or send an email to me and get in touch with me and wanting help. That is money circulation. It's coming to me, but it's going directly to pay the bill that I just received 2 days ago. I can't keep a single part of it. That is house number 9 and the money circulation. And before we go on to this next slide and the last quarter of it, let me tell you a little bit, a small story first. First I'll tell you a small story. Now, I was sitting by I wrote this story and I put it on for people to view on my Facebook. But I thought I'll mention it to you, I'll tell you it as well. In the unlikely event that you haven't read it. I was sitting by the riverside and a thought crossed my mind that the river was actually talking to me. It was discussing some important matter to me. And the thought crossing my mind at the time was, what is love? And in that, what love is, I was wondering. And it came to me. This river was talking to me, and I said to this river, I said, where are you going? Your flow is nice and smooth, unhurried, but steady. And at other times, you are in mad rush, always flowing in that same direction. Where are you going to? And the river said, I am going to meet my partner. I haven't seen my partner for don't know how long. So I said to the river, I said, I tell you what, you go there, find out about your partner, and then come and tell me how much in love you are with your partner. Would you do that for me? And the waves in the river were kind of laughing at me, kind of giving me an indication, sure, I would like to tell the world about my affair with my partner. I'd like to come and tell everybody all about that is happening with my partner. Hang in there, I will come back and tell you. And I think, yeah, I'll wait here. And that flows away and away. And that river meets up with the ocean. The very minute it meets the ocean, it loses its identity. The river is no longer a river. It's no longer a river with a name attached to it. She has simply vanished. Gone. Not there anymore. is ocean, her beloved. So much so, in love with that I forgot the promises, forgot to come back and tell me what love is between the river and the ocean. Forgot to tell the world that she was going to, as to how much love can mean. Tell me, are you the river that enjoys the love of the ocean? Or are you the puddle that's left behind in between a few rocks that hopes for and wishes? I'm going to tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. I've been working on this, and I was talking to the proprietors, and I have promised you in the very first episode that I will introduce these guys to you. And soon that time will come when I will introduce them to you. In the meantime, here is a proposal. If you or anybody you know wants to enhance their lifestyle, wants to better their life, wants to bring that positiveness that is so much lacking, the stagnating life that is happening. You bought a property jointly with somebody and you thought, I can spend a life with them, and a few days later you can't sell the property, you're stuck with them. You made so many promises. Are you in that position that those promises are not fulfilled? That those laughters that you had are no longer? Ladies and gentlemen, in the second week of May, I propose to help you. If you're interested, send me an email at Harry at InclusiveFM.co.uk, and further instructions will be sent to you. If you are living far, far away and that you cannot come up to the studios here in London, we can arrange this by alternative means. But don't leave it till the day that you feel that the only way out is divorce. The only way out is such that after that day, that friendship vanishes altogether. Life is too short to create enemies. Depart if you must, but on a friendly nature. In one of my previous occupations, one guy said to me, he says, do you know what? This is a small world. Who you are supervising today can be your manager tomorrow. So never create animosities that you cannot work together. Never be in a situation whereupon it becomes difficult, so that it becomes awkward for you to be present in the company of the departed. If you're interested, an email, Harry at inclusivefm.co.uk, and I will send you more details on that. Ladies and gentlemen, the events coming up this week are some very wonderful events coming up. First and foremost is St. Patrick's Day, tomorrow. And two of my Irish friends, as a number of them, I hope you have a wonderful day. Just don't get caught out in driving after you've had a wonderful drink up. Enjoy St. Patrick's Day. End of this week is also a 9-day event coming up for the Hindus. The event that is so much cherished, and fasting goes through these events. People fast for that. Why do we fast in all walks of life is something that I will be explaining to you in a fortnight's time. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the time, we are just about halfway through the program at 33 minutes past 3. The next slide, number 10. House number 10. The one that tells me about your occupation. The one that tells me about your father. The one that tells me about who do you get on more with, your mom or your dad. It's the one that gives you that reputation and brings you that fame and association with good people. Your success stories, your authorization over others, your ownership. All the virtues that one would find in their father, the figurehead. And how arrogant are you? Or are you? All that is explained in this house. Financially, this house tells me is how protective you are from your father, your parental income. Are you protected, or would you be neglected? Will your elders go with you? Any adopted children, your adopted sons, will they be honoring you in time? Apart from the normal income, this will tell me whether your income will be generated as a civil servant, government assistance, your savings, or your job, your occupation. So all of this is informed to me, which in turn helps to inform you. This is very good for students. This is very good for people who have come to a crossroad in their life. This is very good for those who want to do something in their life but are afraid to ask for that assistance. Email at harry@inclusivefm.co.uk. We'll bring you the answers. You can always come in to that session I spoke to you a little while ago. And now we go on to the next slide. The house number 11. 11 and 12 being the two triangles. This one tells me the benefits that you're going to receive, the earnings and the fortune and the greed. That is within. Greed doesn't necessarily mean financial gain. Greed can mean a lot of other things. Jealousy can crop into it. But primarily, all those benefits that you are going to receive, all those earnings and fortune that you're going to receive, where are you going to get it from? From your friends, from your relatives, the elders, or some liberal donor? If that liberal donor happens to be the one who says, here, let me help you get some debt out of the way, of course you pay it back, but it's a temporary relief for you to get back on your feet. And then when you're comfortable, let me have what I gave you back. Those variety of gains, boss's assets. I explained to you about this last time. I know of at least 2 people whose bosses left them everything because they felt that these 2 individuals were of greater value than his own relatives. So is it the boss's income that you're going to get? Your parental property. How much of it are you going to get and how much you're going to waste it? Is it all legal cost that it's going to go into? I've inherited and so has my brother, but we have a dispute. I want this and he wants that as well. We need to go to the court. Before you know it, entirety of the asset is taken up by the solicitors and their fees and the runaround and the time it takes to deal with that. And what you gain out of it is nothing. Zero. Zilch. Is it worth pursuing that? Whereas you could, with the right guidance, potentially spend that money that you were otherwise going to spend after legal costs and better your life. Yeah. All those things can be informed to you. And now, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the very last of the houses, and that is house number 12. House number 12 is the misery one. Your outgoings. Are you going to spend the money that you haven't got? Or have you got so much that you don't even want to spend a penny of it? To rely on others to spend on your behalf? Or do you have a weakness to be always first to dip into your pocket? Is injuries and ill health going to take over your financial matters? Are you likely to have external affairs? Wouldn't you like to know? Why do you want to know that? Why do you want external affairs in the first place? Simple, isn't it? And that takes you onto the other side of this slide. And that tells me your secrets, your secret enemy, your parental aunts and your parental uncles, these are all the people who you could generate an income from. Secret enemy could well be a blackmail. Is it you blackmailing, or is somebody else blackmailing you? Income generated, if at all, will only go towards clearing your debt. But at least it's a relief. The wantonness. The minute you have some money, you will find a reason to spend it. Your expense is so much, but you are not admitting to any of it. I don't spend. I hardly go out. So what's happening with the money? If you don't spend and you hardly don't go out, what happens to the money? You do spend. You don't want to admit it. And like I said also earlier, your outgoings could be many of the court cases. So all this is shown in the house number 12. So when we look at this, now this is only just the house numbers. So if I can take you back to that first slide of showing you how the houses are situated, this tells me all about which houses you fall into. What we now need to ascertain is what sign you are and how that can change your life according to the houses. Let us say that primary house number 1 starts with number 4. In other words, the earth moving to the point where that house number 4 is at the top square. House number 4, by the way, belongs to Cancer. So the sign of Cancer was showing up as number 1. Now I've shown you what houses are. You need to know what signs are, and how those signs can change and help you towards that. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm trying to do here, you have seen a lot of horoscopic, and they will tell you, you've seen a lot of information on the media, on the other websites, and it tells you about your horoscope. This I'm trying to explain to you how they and I know of what you want to know. Many times you come across a situation where you think That's not me. There is a number of reasons why that is possible. The time now, ladies and gentlemen, 3:45 on the 16th of March, 2015. In this 15 minutes, I will explain to you why sometimes your horoscope doesn't match to the one that you have just read about. Remember the name Harry that I gave myself in the first episode? Well, every name has a meaning. Every name is attached to a sign, and this is what I will be explaining to you in the next episode. And Harry, starting with H, comes under the sign of Cancer. Whereas my name, Basmant Mehta, BH, comes under the sign of Sagittarius. Both of these are in the Vedic horoscope. They'll be different in the Gregorian horoscope. Because I was born in January and therefore Capricorn. So when I read that Capricorn, and as I was explaining to you before, it takes the whole month, whereas the Sagittarius part of me is only 2.5 days because it's on a lunar cycle. Now, with the name H, it's giving me a different identity. It's different me. And therefore, from birth, I am being pulled by that name, by that sign. It's like you have two friends, absolutely wonderful, both of them. You love them equally. You get along equally with them. But with one, you'll bend over backwards, and the other one, you'll have to think about how far you can go. That's exactly what happens with your name. Hence, in the Vedic horoscope, each sign is given designated letters so that your name prescribes to that sign, and therefore avoid the conflicts. So that's one avenue. And the second avenue, the horoscopes come into 3 forms. The date you were born, the time you were born, and the place you were born. The accuracy of these 3 provide the accuracy of your horoscopes. I was born in London means absolutely nothing. Because between one end of London to the other end of London, north or south, east or west, is at least 2 degrees of difference. If not more. Now, we look at the date. The solar calendar lasts from midnight to midnight, whereas the lunar calendar starts from 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. So somebody born 3 o'clock in the morning in the solar calendar, today the 16th, would have been born on the 16th, whereas in the lunar calendar actually born on the 15th. It's a slight change there. And then we get to the time. The accuracy of time helps. But do you know what the real date of birth or the time of birth and the place of birth are? If you take a person who is fast asleep, and you lift that person's arm and it will go straight back. But if you lift that person's arm and it stays up, you know that person is awake. Similarly, when a child is in the womb, the first time it moves, where the mother says, "Oh look, the baby's kicking," that is the moment the child is born. That time, place, and date. If you knew that, and then go and work out your horoscopes, I can't even tell you what you'll be doing after you put this program down. Almost. But we don't. Because nobody told us to. Look up that day. Work out the horoscope, even the solar horoscopes. And then look up the one that you normally do, and you will find that the one where the child first wakes up in the womb, that date and that solar horoscope meets more to your situation. See the differences? That's where the differences lie. Now, I hope that I have been able to clarify A, the name, B, the situation between their date of birth, time of birth, and place of birth. That is what is required if you want to know more on anything about you. Harry, H-A-R-I, at InclusiveFM.co.uk. Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming up to the closing time, and before I completely switch off, here is some good thoughts for you. And think about it. There was a man who wanted to deceive the tax. He wanted to not pay the tax. He wanted to abscond. He wanted to go away. Every town in those days had a tax officer at the entrance of the town. So when you come in, you pay tax. When you go out of there, you pay tax. Now this guy, he decided, if I leave sort of in the darker hours, the night time, and not take this road, but take one of those alleyways that takes me through the bushes out of the town, I will not have to pay tax. That was fine. He got away with it. And he started on this alleyway and carried on, and then there was a split in the alleyway, and he thought, well, I don't know the way now. Do I go that way? Do I go that way? And he carried on and on and on and on. He thought he had gone out of the town and gone to the next village, next town. Where in fact, all he had done is run and run and run and come back to the same very point where he should have paid his taxes. There's a name for this in Sanskrit. And this man therefore decided the whole of the time wasted, whereas having paid the tax would have been more profitable. What's that got to do with horoscopes? Well, think about it for a minute. It was his mind playing games with him. He wasn't thinking straight. Sometimes we don't think straight. And we get into a little knot. That turns into a bigger knot. And that puts us into a pathway where we lose our way. And we need somebody to help us get back on our roots, get back on our path, get back doing what we really want to do. The paying of tax here is knowing the right information, texting the mind. If the thoughts and the necessary information is not readily available, then ask. Because if you don't ask, don't get. That's what my mother taught me. If you want food, shout, or else you may have to starve. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching InclusiveFM.co.uk. I thank you very much, and I look forward to meeting you on the next episode, where I will go into explaining a bit more on these houses and a lot more on your signs. Have a wonderful week and enjoy that lunar eclipse coming up on Friday that I spoke to you earlier. It will be visible. Only 80% of it, but it will be visible here in the UK. You have a nice day and a nice week. God bless.